Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a phenomenal day. Let's take another look here at Bitcoin. Wow, what a ride. Yesterday was a mess, huh folks? This is exactly why I recommend not trading into the FOMC. We saw a pretty significant correction and a ramp back up. Thankfully, we were able to jump in for some nice profits there on an ETH long. A little 21%. Basically waited for the dust to settle before we took that trade and waited for the established direction to be set. Okay, so anyways, just glad that you found benefit from hitting the brakes yesterday. It's important not to overtrade leading into those fundamental catalysts. Today we're going to take a look here at some important stuff. The things that we want to address is altcoin season index and fear and greed index pulling back. That's actually a very, very good sign, believe it or not. Same thing with open interest remaining in a good position here at 3.5 billion or higher, and ETF inflows effectively pulling back, but this is a 2-day lag. I'm speculating we're probably going to see that increased over the next couple of days. So open interest, everything's looking honestly pretty good, and the macro structure for Bitcoin is phenomenal, right? So we got a really awesome flag type of pattern, or pendant pattern rather, with a previous head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders pattern breakout. So we got this nice little neckline at 116,000. I think the odds of further upside is greater. We're also going to take a look here at Ethereum's nice little breakthrough here with a bullish backtest of its descending trend. That's extremely important. And then the same thing as well with Solana and SUI kind of having some interesting patterns here with extra liquidation left above. So stick around. It's going to be a barn burner here today, and we'll make sure to check out all the good stuff. Don't forget to hit the like button, comment below if you get a chance. Really appreciate you doing that. Let's jump into the back end data first, starting with the crypto market overview. Just kind of getting a baseline here. First of all, ETF net inflow is low. This doesn't sign reversal. It just kind of implies stagnation because Bitcoin was stuck at 118,000, honestly, for the last 24 to 48 hours. Albeit, wicks up and wicks down, but the daily time frame is reflectant of just consistency in this range, right? We see this nice little range here. Technically, the daily close low is 117, daily close high is 120. So we've been in this range since the 14th of July. That is effectively 2.5 weeks. So it's a pretty significant amount of of range-bound activity. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about here. Actually, I want to touch on fear and greed index because this is an important thing to recognize. When it comes to fear and greed index, as it pulls back and the price goes sideways, it's very similar to an RSI where the price tapers off and people start to feel this FOMO now, right? So 118,000 is becoming a regular thing. So people are starting to feel like, okay, wait, I'm missing out here. I better get in. So as fear and greed index pulls back, it's a good relative indicator of strength. Basically the opposite of what you think. As it pulls back, it's actually a good sign. We don't want it to be overinflated for too long. Historically, every time we see the fear and greed index taper off and the price goes sideways, the price inevitably goes higher from there. It's kind of a psychological impact there. Same thing is here as well with the altcoin season index. This is just a number to kind of gauge how well altcoins are doing versus Bitcoin and the specific outliers. So when we look at this scale here, essentially, being in the 30 percentile is important. Dropping below that is generally not a great sign, but if we continue to maintain in the 30s here, I'm actually happy about that because we're going to start seeing that cycle of money flowing away from Bitcoin going into stablecoin, and inevitably we're going to see altcoins take that market capitalization as Ethereum continues to go higher. So those are all things we want to kind of continue to watch out for and pay attention to. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get in the back end data here, kind of see where we're at with Bitcoin first. And kind of here with the charts, pretty straightforward. No matter what time frame you look at, you're going to be seeing bullish flags, bullish pennant. These are all very strong signs as the price slowly tapers off into its support range. Keep in mind we have a CME gap between 114 roughly and 116. That level still is yet to be filled fully. Even though we wicked down there, we didn't hit that level on CME futures. We'll look at that next. At this point here, we can see top traders' average leverage is kind of just, it's fairly stagnant here. When you hit range-bound activity, you see that happen. We can also see we're starting to see a little bit more asks here than bids, essentially more selling pressure as the price maintains this range. That's very standard as well, and no outliers here specifically with transfer of contracts. When we do take a look though, on the back end here, when we look at open interest, we want to recognize here heavy concentration. This is actually evolving. It was at 118, now it's at 117.4. So 117,400 is effectively our support based on open interest here locally. And we have some resistance between 119 and 120. Obviously, it's the same thing as well with 116 and 115. But this center line, the point of control is 117.4. So hypothetically, the price pulls back there. That may be a good consideration for a long. Taking a look here at liquidation long delta, we are looking at, there is no long delta. It's all short delta. So basically implying that we have more shorts than long in the market right now. This could actually suggest that we are soon to see a short squeeze. That is a distinct possibility based on the charts being fairly bullish for Bitcoin. I'll explain more about that too when we look at that. But once more, not much has changed here. 114K for liquidation and 120K for the upper range as well. So those are just two areas of consideration. We'll take a look at true retail accounts a little bit later, but in detail here, the fact that we have a low percent of retail longs versus that of a higher open interest, that's generally a good sign. You always want to have open interest higher than the amount of retail longs. So once more, I'll explain and elaborate more on that later. That's something I'm kind of trying to dive a little bit deeper into so I can get you some more relevant data moving forward. Because backend data is super important. The charts tell us a lot, order books and all that stuff. It's good to know. All right. So Bitcoin analysis. Now that we understand kind of the foundation, what does this mean for us in the charts? Well, once more, here's that level, 118,000. That's our macro point of control. But over the last 7 days, we can see that get out. Sorry. Excuse me, coughing dog in the room. 117,400 is that level on the last 7 days, but we can see here 118,000 is that level here from the macro. Basically the last 2.5 weeks worth of trading, we can see an average support or resistance, depending on what side you're on, between 118 and 117.4. Okay, so just know that that's kind of something there to recognize. We are also right here hanging out really close to the 20-day SMA. We've got a lot of doji candles here. Generally speaking, that's not good or bad. It just implies indecision. And there's no true direction to tell us which way it's going to reverse to because it's just stuck on stupid in this range. So it really just implies that it's difficult trading conditions. That's a simple way to understand it. And it's tough to want to trade anything right now because breakout trades keep fizzling out and shorts squeeze out quickly. And then, of course, you just get destroyed on a long as soon as you take one. So it can be very challenging, but the whole point of me mentioning this is that we have a good structure here. We're stuck in a range. Generally speaking, these ranges break to the upside because they derive from the downside. So if we look here, we can recognize this is a bullish type of rectangle pattern. They generally break to the upside. So I think we still have statistically favorable odds of going higher than lower. And if we take a look at some of the back end stuff here as well, or not back end, rather more so just money flow index is pulling back. As the MFI continues to taper off, and we see the price action stuck in this range, that's actually a very good sign. It implies that profits are being taken, but since the price hasn't been pulling back, it implies a lot of sustainability too. So I find this to be a very positive sign, even though it can be somewhat of a bearish indication, and somebody will probably say it's a hidden bearish divergence. Sorry, I have to speak sarcastically when I say that because it's just ridiculous when people try to use big words in crypto just to sound smart. When truth is, there's nothing hidden about these lines on the chart. It's all pretty transparent if you understand how to interpret it. All that said, 4-hour time frame, we're over 50 on the RSI. That's generally favorable. Stochastic swing up, MACD converging. These are mostly positive signs here. So the longer we can average out above 118,000, we're good. I've been talking about closing above 118K being a bullish sign here for us in the overall sense, which is very true. As you can see, altcoins are responding well. To clarify though, something I want to kind of touch on here is Bitcoin market capitalization or just market dominance, and just kind of touch on this cheat sheet here for you, just so you understand. People have a lot of confusion on this and I'd like to clarify. When Bitcoin dominance goes sideways, which we've seen here roughly for the last 48 to 72 hours, then altcoins are going to respond with Bitcoin, which is what we've seen here. You see Bitcoin pull back yesterday with that hard, Jerome Powell gets up and just hits the reset button on the charts. That essentially caused altcoins to knee-jerk reaction down. But the truth is, when Bitcoin goes up, alts go up right now with it, and inverse as well. It goes down, obviously alts go down too. So it's kind of where we're at. We're stuck in the stable range, which is, in my opinion, personally better because then you can anticipate a lot easier where altcoins are going to go based on Bitcoin's behavior. And right now, Bitcoin's behavior is looking fairly decent, but it's not super bullish or bearish, right? No matter how you look at it. So there's no magical super indicator right now telling us that you should take a long or a short to the moon or to the ground floor, right? I wouldn't trust anybody that says that. Now, granted, I'll be honest, I've been getting very creative with my thumbnails, trying to see if we can attract more viewers, and that is part of it. So if you're a smart person, you'll watch the whole video, make your own decision, and see if you like the content. So once again, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. I deeply appreciate it. We'll look forward to the next analysis here on Ethereum. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the backend data first. Kind of start with that and go from there. So starting with altcoins here with Ethereum. We want to look at open interest because when we looked at this previously, there's a resistance at 3,800, which we blasted straight through that. We're kind of just jumping around here. The truth is open interest can work as a support and resistance, but it kind of lets you know what the range is too. So 3,800 is the heaviest concentration of volume, if you will. It's the best way to understand it in this range. So people like that $3,800 level. Now, when we look at short delta, same thing consistent with Bitcoin, right? You're going to see this consistency a lot based on the simple fact that Bitcoin is calling the shots right now. Bitcoin dominance going sideways. All that said, Ethereum looking pretty strong here in regards to getting closer to that 3,900 to 4,000 range. So if there is a retest of 3,900, we could see a run towards 4,000. So just bear that in mind. Furthermore, too, we do have a bullish backtest of our descending trend here. So let's go ahead and disable the patterns there and just quickly note a couple of things. First of all, when we look at this descending trend, that's usually a positive sign when you see the backtest. So roughly 3,800 should be a good bullish indication for a long position on this coin. We're still long on Ethereum because we took profits on part of our trade, but we generally like to leave it open and continue to let the rest ride. That's how I like to recommend it. Maybe sell 70% of your position in the first entry or first exit rather, and then let the rest ride. So the key takeaway here is there's more meat left on the bone here. With its descending retest, that's generally a good sign. It implies it's bouncing off its local point of control. And if we look here, we can recognize here on the 4-hour time frame specifically, we're kind of hanging out in that center line. Everything's kind of averaging out. So these are just these are not bullish signs by any stretch, but they are standard kind of consolidation signs before the price either A, legs up or pulls back. Now, with us looking at the back end data here, we can see there's more shorts than longs and 3,800's at resistance. So that could imply we have some potential consideration for further downside. Otherwise, at this point, we're kind of squeezing between both moving averages. Generally, we have slightly more favorability for further upside, but I don't see any indications here that we are due to continue higher or lower per se. It's just it is what it is right now. Okay. So all in all, I'm fairly neutral to bullish on Ethereum. Take a look here at Solana to recognize this guy. We can see we're in our support range, of course, descending trend, still respecting that, haven't broken free. So truth is we got some resistances above us. When we take a look at Solana's open interest range, we can see we're right there in the middle, 178 to 180. That's what reinforces that support. Truth is, though, never a great sign to try to take a long against this much selling pressure. There's 2.5 billion in liquidation short delta, which basically implies a lot of selling pressure. And we can see some liquidation above the price too, reinforcing resistance, but possibly even a short squeeze. So you generally want to wait to take a trade on a coin like this here in this situation. All right, so let's move on to SUI and kind of see where we're at. We are in an ascending type of broadening wedge pattern, which generally can be construed in a lot of different ways. Broadening wedge patterns usually break in the same direction they're heading, all right? Now, generally speaking, we're in a pretty broad range, and we need to respect the fact that $4 is a heavy resistance level for us. And we look at open interest, it does reinforce itself here, kind of letting us know that we have a lot of resistance at 4. I wouldn't worry too much about 430, we're not there yet, but the main thing to recognize is getting above $4 is important for this coin. We do have a lot of liquidation delta to the downside, generally implying not a good sign to take along. However, lately I've noticed when liquidation short delta gets high, which it is right now, then there's usually a short squeeze that comes after, because we're seeing these natural, very strong ebbs and flows in trading lately, and majority of them respond to the price action effectively hitting its bottom and triggering a lot of sell signals. So like the logical concept of taking a trade of this coin right now, you should short sell this coin based on these metrics. But lately we've been seeing these inverse signals where you almost do the opposite of what's rational, and it works out favorable. So the key takeaway here is since Bitcoin is stuck in a range, it's stuck on stupid, until it clears that range, we need to respect the fact that buying the dip is an important concept when we retest a support or descending trend, and the inverse applies too. You sell the top and we come up. So if we see 450, 460 for SUI, that's good consideration as short. Right now, it's probably a good consideration to take a long because we're consolidating nicely at this support range at 380. Now, I previously mentioned 380 is a strong support. I've since adjusted that a little bit on the charts, but truth is 380, 360, and 340, those easy round numbers are all key level supports for this coin. So taking a look here at XRP, this is a coin we're still along with. We are actually in profit with an average position of 308, 309. This lower range I feel is going to hold. That's more so just based on XRP being XRP, not seeing anything amazing on the charts. When we look here, open interest tells us 310 to 315 is that open interest range, letting us know that's I guess, in a sense, the support and resistance, because we're just kind of hanging out there. Short delta is almost, what, 600 million? That's quite a lot. And then we got liquidation at 320 to 325. I'm leaning more towards this upper area of liquidation getting swept based on the simple fact that this coin continues to consolidate in this range. So we're looking pretty good here, the overall sense. I personally don't think we're going to continue much lower. Shorting into support doesn't make a ton of sense. If you consider a short, wait for the price to be, this $3 range to be broken, and then short this level. That's how you're supposed to do it. But between now and then, who truly knows, honestly? The coins have been misbehaving significantly. But the one thing that's consistent is until Bitcoin breaks this range, we're going to keep seeing this, this tomfoolery is the best way to describe it. It's just kind of it's a head scratcher, right? So you may not be able to make sense of it, but the truth is buying the dips and selling the tops is the best way to go for the moment. I hope that makes sense. I described it correctly. Make sure you join us over at BitUnix, link down below, folks. This campaign just ended, but we had a nice little deposit or reward bonus for 16,000 spread amongst our community there. Today is the very last day to take advantage of my Crypto Cash Premium offer. It's basically a one-time discount for the remainder of the year. That does expire later tonight, 12 p.m. Or sorry, 12 a.m. I guess it would be Pacific Standard Time. Regardless, yeah, that's all available for you there. Make sure to check that out. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Feel free to reach out. Don't be a stranger. I'm available on TikTok now as well, as also Twitter, Telegram, and Discord. So you can find me anywhere. I look forward to work with you. Hope you have a good rest of the day. Thanks so much for your time. We'll see you next one.